My name was Lori Parker, and I died at 34 in a miserable apartment in Cleveland, Ohio. Alone, broke, consumed by a cancer that devoured my body the same way humiliation had devoured my soul for 16 long years. But you need to understand something. My death wasn't the end of my story. It was only the beginning of the total destruction of those who turned my life into hell. When I was 18, I was just another weird girl at Riverside High School. Thick glasses, thrift store clothes, unstyled hair, zero social life. While other teenagers cared about popularity and parties, I was buried in books and dreams of a different life. My mom, Carol, worked double shifts as a nurse to support our small family after my dad abandoned us when I was 12. "Lori, you're special," she used to say, kissing my forehead before heading off to her night shift. "One day, that brain of yours is going to take you far from here." And I believed her. My grades were perfect. My school newspaper article had won state awards, and I'd already been accepted to Northwestern University to study journalism. My future shined like a golden promise on the horizon. Until Derek Thompson ruined everything. Derek was everything I wasn't. Popular, handsome, quarterback of the football team, son of a successful businessman. He had the perfect smile, the perfect car, and he dated Madison Wells, the most envied girl in school. Madison had the kind of beauty that made people stop and stare. Blonde, tall, always dressed in designer clothes I only saw in magazines. For 3.5 years, they treated me like furniture. I was invisible, a shadow walking the halls, not even worth a glance of contempt. Then, out of nowhere, 2 weeks before prom, Derek started talking to me. "Hey, Lori," he said one morning, leaning against my locker with that smile that made girls swoon. I remember how my heart raced. Derek Thompson, the Derek Thompson, was talking to me. In the days that followed, he kept greeting me, asking about my college plans, complimenting my intelligence. "You have an incredible mind, Lori. It's rare to meet someone like you." I was too pathetic to realize I was being set up for slaughter. The Thursday before prom, Derek found me in the library. "Lori, I know this might sound strange, but would you like to go to prom with me?" The world stopped. His words echoed in my mind like church bells. Derek Thompson was asking me to prom. I, the weird girl no one noticed, would be the date of the most popular guy in school. "Won't Madison be upset?" I managed to mumble. He laughed, running his hand through his blonde hair. "Madison and I broke up last week. I was just waiting for the right moment to ask you." I lied to my mom about getting a part-time job to explain where the money for the dress would come from. I spent every cent I saved over 2 years working at the corner diner. $400 on a navy blue dress that made me feel beautiful for the first time in my life. Another $100 at the salon to tame my wild hair. $50 on shoes that hurt my feet but made me look elegant. On prom night, Derek picked me up in his dad's red convertible Mustang. He wore a flawless tux and greeted me with flowers. "You look stunning, Lori." For a moment, I felt like Cinderella going to the royal ball. The gym was decorated with golden lights and glittering curtains. Loud music played as couples danced under romantic lighting. For the first time in my life, I belonged. Derek introduced me to his friends as if I were someone important. Ashley Morgan, the school's drama queen, smiled at me with eyes that didn't match her lips. "What an interesting dress, Lori." For 2 hours, I lived the fairy tale I had always dreamed of. Derek danced with me, brought me punch, laughed at my jokes. I floated on a cloud of happiness, finally accepted by the group that had always rejected me. Then came the moment for special announcements, and Derek took me to the stage. Before I go on with how that night changed everything, I want to know, where are you watching this story from? Drop a comment and tell me what part of the world you're in. It's amazing how stories of revenge and justice can bring people together from so many different places. Everyone, I want to draw your attention to something special, Derek said into the microphone, his voice echoing through the crowded gym. Over 400 students turned to look at us on stage. My heart was racing with joy and nervousness. I thought he was about to call me the most special girl in school, maybe even say he loved me. I'd like to introduce you to the real star of the night, he continued, pulling me closer to the mic. The gym fell completely silent. The biggest loser in the history of Riverside High. The words hit me like a bullet to the chest. The smile faded from my face as I tried to process what was happening. Did you all really think I'd go out with this freak? Derek shouted into the mic, triggering an explosion of cruel laughter. Look at her, Coke bottle glasses, a thrift store dress, and that hair looks like it was cut with a chainsaw. Madison appeared on stage holding a giant cup of red punch. Let me help with the new look, Lori, she yelled before dumping the sticky liquid all over my dress. The navy blue fabric turned red as if I'd been stabbed. The gym erupted in hysterical laughter. Ashley climbed on stage with a sign that read, "Desperate Virgin," and posed for pictures next to me as I stood there frozen in shock. Phones popped up from every direction, filming my humiliation in high definition. Did anyone really think Derek Thompson would date Lori Parker? She's so pathetic she probably still believes in Santa Claus. And the Easter Bunny, Ashley added, sending the crowd into another round of laughter. Derek leaned into the microphone one last time. Easiest bet I've ever won, $50 to make the ugliest girl in school believe someone could actually like her. I ran. I ran from the stage, the gym, the school, my life. My expensive shoes tore at my feet, the heavy dress clung to my legs, but I ran like my life depended on it. Behind me, I could still hear the laughter echoing even once I was outside. I got home soaked in punch and tears. My mom was working the night shift, so I cried alone in my room until the sun came up. By Sunday, the video of my humiliation was already circulating through all the school's social media. Epic prom fail had thousands of views. The following weeks were a nightmare. In the hallways, students would pretend to trip as they passed me, shouting, "Watch out for the loser!" I found cruel notes in my locker. "No one will miss you," and "Do the world a favor and disappear." My acceptance to Northwestern was official, but I couldn't imagine a future anymore. How could I leave Riverside carrying that humiliation like an open wound? How could I ever trust anyone again after being so completely deceived? I turned down Northwestern. I told my mom I wanted a gap year to find my path. The truth was, I had lost all direction. Meanwhile, Derek got a full football scholarship to Stanford. Madison was discovered by a modeling agent over the summer and moved to LA. Ashley married Jordan Mitchell, heir to a tech company 2 years after graduation. They thrived while I withered. The following years were a string of dead-end jobs and relationships that never worked out. I worked as a cashier at Walmart, a waitress at Denny's, a janitor in office buildings. Each job paid just enough to cover rent for a tiny apartment and basic groceries. I tried therapy, but I couldn't move past the humiliation. Antidepressants turned me into a zombie, so I stopped taking them. My mother died of a heart attack when I was 28, taking with her the only person who still believed in me. Through all those years, I watched them on social media like a digital stalker. Derek had graduated with a business degree from Stanford and opened a chain of gyms called Thompson Fitness across Ohio. His photo was constantly in the local paper, always smiling next to politicians and prominent businessmen. Madison had become a moderately successful model, posing for fitness clothing brands and supplement companies. Her Instagram was filled with photos in exotic locations, designer dresses, luxury cars. She branded herself as a devout Christian, always posting Bible verses and inspirational messages about being blessed by God. Ashley had become the perfect trophy wife. She founded a charity called Angels for Children that supposedly helped underprivileged kids. Her photos showed a life of absolute luxury: a mansion in Westlake, imported cars, expensive jewelry, European vacations. They had everything I was supposed to have: success, money, respect, beautiful families. Meanwhile, I grew older alone in cheap apartments, watching my life pass by through the window. In January 2024, I found a lump in my left breast during a shower. 3 weeks later, the diagnosis: aggressive stage 4 breast cancer with metastases in the lymph nodes and lungs. 6 months to live, maybe less. Sitting in the oncology office, listening to the doctor explain palliative treatment options, a fury I had buried for 16 years finally erupted. Why did they get perfect lives after destroying mine? Why did God allow cruel people to prosper while their victims suffered? That night, I made a decision that would change everything. If I was going to die, I wouldn't go to the grave alone. I would take with me the secrets that would destroy all 3 of them forever. I used my journalism skills, the only thing left of my shattered dreams, to investigate each of them. I spent weeks following Derek, watching his gyms, talking to unhappy employees. I discovered that Thompson Fitness was a front for laundering drug money. Derek received large amounts of cash from local dealers and cleaned it through fake gym memberships. Madison was easier to expose. I hired a private investigator with my last $1,000 to follow her. The devout Christian model survived by working as a high-end escort for wealthy businessmen. Her clients paid $10,000 a night for elegant dinners that always ended in 5-star hotels. Ashley required more work, but it was worth it. I got a part-time job as a cleaner at the Angels for Children office. For 3 months, I copied financial documents, recorded conversations, photographed evidence. Ashley was systematically embezzling 80% of donations into personal accounts, keeping just enough to avoid suspicion. On top of that, she was regularly cheating on Jordan with her personal trainer. I gathered enough evidence to ruin them all: compromising photos, falsified financial records, recorded incriminating conversations, bank statements, text messages, fake contracts. During my final months as cancer consumed my body, I consumed their lives through investigation. Each piece of evidence was like a dose of morphine for my wounded soul. I died in the early hours of August 15th, 2024. Alone in my apartment, as I had lived for so many years. The neighbor only discovered my body 3 days later because of the smell. Pathetic to the very end, they all thought. Just another life wasted by depression and failure. My funeral was simple and empty. Only a few coworkers showed up, more out of social obligation than genuine affection. Derek, Madison, and Ashley didn't even know I had died. Why would they care about the weird girl they humiliated in high school? But 2 weeks after my burial, bombs started going off in Riverside. On the morning of September 2nd, Jeff Morrison, editor of the Riverside Herald, found a thick envelope on his desk with no return address. Inside was a typed letter and hundreds of meticulously organized documents. Mr. Morrison, my name was Lori Parker, class of 2008 at Riverside High School. I recently died of cancer, but before I passed, I dedicated my final months to exposing the truth about 3 people who ruined my life when we were teenagers. Derek Thompson, Madison Wells, and Ashley Morgan turned my youth into a living hell out of pure cruelty. Now, 16 years later, it's time to show who they really are behind their perfect masks. In the following pages, you'll find undeniable evidence that Derek Thompson launders drug money through his gyms. Madison Wells is a high-end escort deceiving her Christian followers. Ashley Morgan steals money meant for underprivileged children. This is my posthumous revenge. Publish it all. Morrison, a 30-year journalism veteran, had never seen evidence so thoroughly documented. Photos of Derek receiving duffel bags of cash from known drug dealers, bank records showing unexplainable deposits, text messages discussing cleaning the merchandise. The evidence against Madison was even shocking. Photos of her entering and exiting luxury hotels with different men, recorded conversations where she negotiated prices and services, contracts signed under fake names, a video where she admitted to a friend, "These Christian idiots pay me a fortune just because I post Bible verses. If they knew I make more in one night than they do in a year." Ashley was the most vulnerable of them all. Financial documents from Angels for Children clearly showed the embezzlement. Of the $2.3 million raised in donations over the past 3 years, only $400,000 had gone to the children. The rest funded luxury cars, jewelry, vacations, and renovations on her mansion. Intimate photos with her personal trainer, Greg Santos, completed the devastating dossier. Morrison worked 72 hours straight, verifying every piece of evidence. Everything checked out. On Thursday, September 5th, the Riverside Herald published the headline that destroyed 3 lives. Sex and financial scandals expose former popular students. The story spread like wildfire. Other newspapers picked it up. Social media exploded with the revelations. Within hours, #RiversideScandal was trending on Twitter. Derek was arrested at his main gym while giving a local TV interview about motivation and overcoming obstacles. Handcuffs gleamed under the studio lights as federal agents took him away for money laundering, drug ties, and tax evasion. Madison was at a Christian charity event when the first news hit. An organization was about to name her an ambassador for purity when someone in the audience shouted, "Madison, is it true you charge $10,000 a night?" She fainted on stage. Sponsorships were canceled within minutes. Her Instagram, once 200,000 strong, lost 150,000 followers in 24 hours. Ashley was having lunch at the country club with her socialite friends when Jordan showed up holding a copy of the paper. "You stole money from orphaned children? And you've been screwing Greg for 2 years?" he yelled in front of everyone. The divorce was immediate. Jordan kicked her out of the mansion that very afternoon. The foundation was shut down by the FBI. Ashley went from high society queen to total outcast in less than a week. But the real bomb was still to come. A week after the initial exposé, Morrison received a second envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with one final message. "Mr. Morrison, now that the world knows who Derek, Madison, and Ashley really are, I want everyone to understand why. In May of 2008, at the Riverside High School prom, these 3 publicly destroyed an 18-year-old girl for fun. They humiliated her in front of 400 people, filmed her degradation, and turned what should have been a magical night into the beginning of 16 years of suffering. That girl was me, Lori Parker." You can find the video of the humiliation by searching "Epic Prom Fail Riverside 2008" on YouTube. It's still there, with 50,000 views of people laughing at my pain. For 16 years, I watched them thrive. Successful careers, perfect marriages, golden lives, while I withered in miserable apartments, working dead-end jobs, dying a little more each day. Now, at last, there is justice. The ugly loser girl got the last laugh. With eternal love, Lori Parker, 1989 to 2024. Lori's final letter was published in full, completing the most meticulous revenge ever documented in Riverside. The video of the 2008 humiliation resurfaced and went viral again, but this time with a completely different context.
Comments that once mocked the weird girl now expressed horror and outrage at the bullies. Derek Thompson was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for money laundering and criminal association. His gyms were seized by the government. His wife, Sarah, divorced him and moved to another state with their 2 children. Once a Stanford quarterback, Derek now cleaned bathrooms at the federal penitentiary in Ohio. Madison Wells was arrested for tax evasion and conspiracy. She lost all her endorsement deals and was expelled from the church where she pretended to be a devout Christian. Her parents, ashamed, cut ties with her. Madison ended up serving 3 years in prison and, ironically, worked as a janitor after her release, the same job Lori once held. Ashley Morgan faced the most devastating consequences. The FBI discovered she had embezzled nearly $2 million from Angels for Children. She was sentenced to 12 years for embezzlement and fraud. Jordan kept custody of the kids and remarried. Ashley lost everything: mansion, cars, jewelry, social status, family. She left prison years later completely ruined, financially and emotionally. The Lori Parker revenge case became a national phenomenon, studied in journalism and law schools. Books were written about her meticulously planned posthumous revenge. Documentaries explored the long-term effects of school bullying. Riverside High School implemented strict anti-bullying policies and created the Lori Parker program to support students who were victims of social humiliation. The 2008 prom became a case study in how teenage cruelty can have devastating consequences decades later. Jeff Morrison won a Pulitzer Prize for his coverage of the case. At the award ceremony, he declared, "Lori Parker taught us that truth may take 16 years to surface, but it always finds a way. Her revenge wasn't just personal, it was a public service that exposed corruption and protected future victims." Lori's grave, once visited only by cemetery staff, became a kind of shrine for bullying victims. People from across the country left flowers and letters thanking her for proving that the cruel don't win forever. A plaque was placed on her tombstone. Lori Parker, 1989 to 2024. The weird girl who showed the world that justice can come from where we least expect it. Her story became an urban legend and a source of inspiration. It proved that even in death, a brilliant and determined mind can orchestrate perfect justice. Derek, Madison, and Ashley destroyed an innocent girl for fun in 2008. 16 years later, that same girl destroyed all of their lives from beyond the grave. Lori Parker's revenge was complete, devastating, and eternally satisfying. She may have died alone and poor, but her final laugh echoed across the nation, reminding everyone that cruelty always comes with a price, even if it takes a lifetime to be paid. In the end, the ugly loser girl turned out to be the smartest one of them all.